Let's pray for the free Iran.
کنفرانس مقاومت و قیام مردم ایران برای جمهوری دمکراتیک با حضور خانم مریم رجوی رئیس جمهور برگزیده مقاومت و شرکت نماینده کنگره آمریکا راندی وبر، سناتور هورکان عضو سنای ایرلند و جیم هیگینز وزیر و نایب رئیس سابق پارلمان اروپا از ایرلند.
سخنرانی‌های سناتور جری هورکان معاون کمیته مالی سنای ایرلند، جیم هیگینز نایب رئیس پیشین احزاب مردم در پارلمان اروپا.
سناتور جری هورکان معاون کمیته مالی سنای ایرلند: برای من افتخار بزرگی است که در اینجا باشم و از شورای ملی مقاومت حمایت کنم. این واقعاً یک امتیاز ویژه است که من چندین بار اینجا و در آلبانی بودم تا حمایت خود را از شبکه عظیمی که شما دارید ابراز کنم.
بیش از 3600 نماینده پارلمان از مجالس 40 کشور حمایت خود را از طرح 10 ماده‌ای اعلام کردند، از جمله پارلمان ایرلند که این بیانیه را امضا کردند.
Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much for the invite, for being here. But more importantly, thank you, Madame Rajvi. Thank you, Congressman Weber. My own colleague from my country, Jim Higgins, former minister, former MEP, former senator, former deputy. It's a real privilege to be here to support the NCRI and the people of Iran in their fight for a democracy where we can vote and we can change the people who are there and we can express our opinions as to what we want our government to do. And it really is a huge privilege. I have some draft remarks, but I really want to speak from the heart today and just say to you, I've been here a number of times before. I've also been to Albania and to show my support for the people there. But the work that's being done by the NCRI, by Madame Rajvi, and a huge network of people who I know are both here and also in Albania and watching all over the world, the work that's being done to highlight to all of us parliamentarians right around the world, at the free world particularly, the awful conditions that people in Iran are living under, the conditions that they have been living under since the theocracy and indeed before, and that they really, the desire for democracy amongst the almost 90 million people is very strong. We are a population in Ireland of just over 5 million people, with a very large diaspora, to be fair, and we appreciate the struggles. Just over 100 years ago, we got our own independence from Britain, and we appreciate our independence and the fact that we are now one of the longest free democracies in the world in terms of being there full-time since our inauguration. But it's so important for us to be here to support you guys, and we support the Iranian people. We support the people of Iran. It's the regime that we are not happy with. It's the regime that doesn't allow people to have a right to vote, that doesn't give gender equality, that doesn't give respect to equalities, to minorities, that doesn't give equality to all citizens, that has plied terrorism across not just the Middle East but the wider world. And we are here to support yourselves, the NCRI, in your quest for what you're asking for is democracy. You're asking for people to have what we have. You're not saying we replace one dictatorship with a different dictatorship. You're saying we want the 10-point plan that gives religious freedom, that gives equality, gender equality, and to all nationalities, to all different faiths and so on. You are saying we will be available to provide an interim government, but we want the people to be able to vote for a government of which no doubt you will put yourselves forward, and I hope you'll be successful, but you're asking for democracy. 3,600 parliamentarians from 40 different countries are supporting the NCRI and have signed up to that, including in the Irish Parliament, where we have signed motions and supported motions in favour of the 10-point plan, in favour of freedom in Iran. For us, a country the idea that a country of 90 million people with huge resources, not just people resources, but huge oil resources and mineral resources and other resources, and that so many people can be living in poverty and tyranny at a time when you are not a poor country by any stretch of the imagination. You are a rich country, but the resources are not being shared fairly amongst the people of Iran. I think the Irish people are in favour, absolutely 100%, of standing with yourselves, looking for a free Iran. The regime is causing difficulties not just in Iran, but right across the Middle East and the wider world, funding terrorism, funding discord, causing trouble in other countries, causing trouble in its own country, killing, murdering its own citizens and others. And we are here to show our support for you guys right across the world, the Iranians, particularly in Iran, obviously, who are subject to such difficult circumstances, but for all the Iranian diaspora all over the world, those able to watch in free countries right across the world that may be looking in today. The people of Ireland, myself, former Minister Higgins, and many, many other Irish parliamentarians are very, very supportive of everything you're trying to do to get freedom and democracy for a country of almost 90 million people. We are so hoping that you get that freedom sooner rather than later, that the dangerous activities of your current regime stop and stop immediately, and that in the longer term, like Congressman Weber, that we will all get the opportunity to visit your beautiful country full of resources sooner rather than later in a free and fair and democratic Iran. Thank you all very much.
جیم هیگینز، نایب رئیس پیشین احزاب مردم در پارلمان اروپا. خانم رجوی، رهبری شما الهام بخش بوده است و این دانش را حفظ کرده است. آینده ایران از آن شماست و شما الهام بخش همه ما بوده اید.
من در اجلاس سالانه مقاومت شرکت کردم. در آن اجلاس نخست وزیر سابق ایرلند هم شرکت داشت. قبل از اجلاس سفیر رژیم در دوبلین با او ملاقات کرد و هشدار داد که مجاهدین یک فرقه و تروریست هستند و نباید در آن اجلاس شرکت کند.
پیشرفت واقعی و آینده در دست جوانان است. کسانی که تحت رهبری خانم رجوی با دیکتاتوری دینی مبارزه می کنند و دموکراسی را به دست خواهند آورد.
I look at this slogan over here, Iran, nationwide uprising 1 year after. I want to be back here this time next year in September 2024 and mark a historical milestone towards freedom. Madam Chairperson, Ms. Rajvi, thank you once again for your continued inspiration of the movement. Your leadership has kept this organisation going, has inspired this organisation that the future of Iran is in your hands, and has inspired all of us that one day in the not-too-distant future we will walk untrammelled up the major thoroughfares of Tehran together, hand in hand. Since 2004, as a member of the European Parliament, I have a very strong history of support for the PMOI. I've been with them through Camp Ashraf, through their fight in relation to getting out of Camp Liberty and to getting where they are now in Ashraf 3. I have hosted and have participated in many events where we've had prominent politicians and congressmen and congresswomen, particularly from the United States. But I've seldom heard a speech as well delivered and as passionate and having a message of resonance than yours, Congressman Webber. Well done. I was at that Congress that was just mentioned in the last clip. That's the Free Iran Summit, a wonderful event. You saw all the attendees there. One of the attendees was my own Prime Minister, formerly Enda Kenny, who was Prime Minister of my country for a period of 9 years. And before he went to the Congress, he was contacted by the ambassador from Iran, who made a point of meeting him in Dublin to warn him that under no circumstances should he attend that particular event on the 28th or 29th of June, that the PMOI is a cult, that is an illegal organisation, that is comprised of terrorists. But he went. And we had, in addition to that, such luminaries as Mike Pence, former Vice President of the United States, current candidate for the United States presidency, John Pompeo, John Bolton, former British Prime Minister Liz Truss. Are these the kind of people that would have truck with terrorists? This is the kind of propaganda that goes on when it comes to the regime. They are deadly, they are dangerous, and they are devious. And they will do anything, literally, to undermine the reputation of the PMOI. But they won't succeed, because the PMOI have written out all of the slings and arrows and propaganda that has been foisted against them. And of course, one of the major features of their organisation is the bribery of journalists, well-disposed journalists, so-called, who take money in order to prevent the kind of to print and to publicise the kind of propaganda that these people purvey. It's fine us talking here in relation to support, and it's very important from the point of view of encouragement. It's very important from the point of view of ensuring that the movement that is underway, and hopefully we will mark another milestone, as I said, this time next year, a further milestone of progress. But in my opinion, the real progress, the real hands, and the real future is in the hands of the young people. I am a native Irish speaker. Gaelic is my first language. We have a phrase called Mullanoga agus Chukishid. Praise the young people, encourage them, and they will deliver. And it's the young people, the young generation in Iran, they are the people that are going to lead the way under the leadership of Mrs. Rejui to the promised land. But we're not just talking about what goes on in Iran. It's horrendous. What's happening in terms of the suppression of democracy, the suppression of free speech, the suppression of the aspirations of people to take to the streets, the subjugation by the terrorists in relation to doing so in the name of Islam is just terrible. But what we're talking about in addition to that is we are talking about the danger of Iran to the world order. And that's why it's important that collectively, as countries, that we get together, that we roll up our sleeves, that we work collectively, that we put our economic interests, such as oil and resources, that instead of doing under-the-counter deals with the regime, at the same time making all kinds of promises and pledges in relation to supporting the PMOI and the MEK, that we take collective action across the board, that there's total international solidarity at United Nations level, at European Union level, and across the board to make sure that once and for all we ostracise, we isolate, and we make sure that the world sees on the world stage the pariahs that these people are, and that we make it happen. So again, thank you very much indeed. I'm delighted to be here and delighted to have the opportunity of sharing the platform with my colleague of a different political party. We're on different sides of the aisle. But as Congressman Weber said, when it comes to Iran, the aisle on both sides in Congress, whether it's in the Senate or in the House, they all sing from the same hymn sheet. And to be again on the platform with that wonderful, inspirational leader who will one day give the freedom to Iran by way of our 10-point plan that is long overdue, but hopefully just around the corner. Thank you very much indeed.